So I'm going to request that you mute yourself, and that way we won't hear any uh, background noise. I'd like to welcome you to our Frankincense mini class, and I want to uh, go over a couple of things that just are the nuts and bolts of what we're going to do today. So this is being recorded, and a lot of people are unable to make it live, and that's okay. The recording will be available to everyone, and my recommendation is that you, when you get the recording link, that you download it to your own computer device, external drive. My Zoom cloud, sometimes after a period of time, will delete certain recordings. It won't delete this for quite a while, but I want you to have this forever. And it would be very disappointing, I'm sure, if 6 months from now you wanted to access this and you were unable to. So my suggestion is just download it uh, right away to your device. It's yours. And there you go. So we're going to go for about 90 minutes. I'm going to save questions for the end. You can put them in the chat if you want to. And if you have any questions, just type them in there and um, I will get to the questions. You will receive an email after the class um, with the recordings, and I'm also going to send you a handout, so you'll have that also. All right, people are still coming in, but I want to respect our time, and so I'm going to start in. Frankincense. Wow. So this particular masterclass came about because I've been an aromatherapist for a really long time. And my first entree into aromatherapy, and uh, many of you who have talked to me or interacted with me either in person or through Zoom or social media, uh, many people are very versed in essential oils, and the field is pretty vast, and there's a wide variety of quality. There isn't really a strong regulatory uh, agency that can really tell if the essential oils uh, are qualified or not. But all that being said, it's a powerful medicine, especially if you resonate with, the essential oil company or the essential oils that you're using. And there's a saying that I like to use in my classes, which is if you don't have what you use, if you don't have it, use what you have. And if you use what you have, even though it may not be the brand or the essential oil that I might be talking about, it's probably going to work pretty well anyway. Because of the versatility of essential oils, they're very volatile, they're very powerful, they're very concentrated, and they're very complex. And my first entree into aromatherapy was many, many years ago when I had some digestive issues and nobody could figure it out. No, the regular doctors really didn't have an answer for me except drugs, to control the symptoms. And I was at a health fair and I met an aromatherapist there, and she had a couple of different digestive essential oils like basil and fennel. And so she sold those to me and she said, I want you to put them in water and I want you to sip them before you eat. And that should clear things up in about a month. And she was right. She, so I got interested in the company. They had some courses on certification. I took all their courses. And then after I used the essential oils for a while, one of the things I did was a research study on kids who were in the spectrum disorders. And with these kids with spectrum disorders, I would do a test on them called a tissue mineral analysis or a hair mineral analysis. And a hair mineral analysis is a biochemical test that can give us an indication on heavy metals. It also tells us about our mineral ratios and our adrenal health, our thyroid health, and so on. But anyways, I was mostly interested in the heavy metal angle because of the vaccinations that all these kids were getting all at once, and all the thimerosal and other preservatives in the vaccinations that were triggering some of the neurological challenges that they were going through. And I developed a heavy metal uh, protocol for them and their parents. We'd had 30 kids, and the parents were on board. So the essential oils we used were black cumin, which we had them put in like 6 drops in a glass of water, and they would drink that in the morning. And then we had them put on the soles of their feet 2 drops of patchouli, 2 drops of cedarwood atlas, and 2 drops of frankincense. And we had them do that twice a day for 30 days. And then I remeasured their hair mineral analysis. And we did every month, we would measure it. And the readings kept going down and down in terms of the heavy metals. It started off, they had really high readings in the hair, and then eventually um, that dissipated after about 3 months. And so that showed me how great the essential oils are in stimulating our detoxification pathways, our liver health, and so on. So that sold me on the power of them. And then I studied and became an aromatherapist. And then, as you see here, I'm in the Geodome, and I used to conduct retreats on the weekends. We would do 2 days of aromatherapy, and I had 200 essential oils that would be, in this space. And I would teach the foundational, 30, what are the foundational 30 essential oils? And frankincense was one of those. And if you're interested in that kind of an intensive experience, let me know, send me an email. And, we take about 5 people, and it's a wonderful weekend. So if you're interested in really diving deeply into the essential oils, we can. Another question that I get quite a bit is, what companies do I use or recommend? So, towards the end of our presentation, I will recommend some companies that I have vetted. I've certainly been through many, many companies, and some of them I've actually uncovered where the essential oils had impurities in them. And there was one company that I actually worked for a while, and found that they had some impurities in their essential oils, and it was very disappointing. But also, it really clued me into what you need to look for to find a reputable company, because the last thing you want to do is put essential oils on your body or in your environment
Environment.
if they're diluted, if there's so let me make sure we're muting. Please mute yourself so we don't get there we go. Okay, so I want to start with a story. This is a very interesting story, and it's got a moral to it. And it goes like this. There was a group of shamans who lived in South America. And over many generations, they cultivated plant medicines. Many of you maybe have been visited South America, and they were in the Amazon. And they developed this way to work with plant medicine and plant healing. And these particular shamans in the medicines that they cultivated, they harvested, they used in ceremony, um, would heal things, very serious diseases like cancer and other just life-threatening diseases. Tumors would go away. Amazing stuff. And one day, a group of pharmaceutical CEOs, the big five pharmaceutical CEOs from the US, contacted these shamans, and they're like, "Wow, this is we need to get this information because we can make more money at it." And so the shaman said, "Sure, you can come down." So the five CEOs came down with their chemists, and the shaman said, "You need to spend a week with us here in the Amazon, and we'll share this with you for a fee." And so the CEO said, "No problem." So they wrote him a check for $10 million, and they said, "We're going to come down, and we want you to give us the secret sauce. What is it in your formulations that is causing all this great healing?" So the shamans invited him down. They were very cordial and gracious to them. And over the week, they showed them how they grew the plants, how they cultivated them, how they processed them, and gave them all the formulas and everything. And the CEOs were just like, their mouths were watering, like, "Wow, we can go back and we can really make a lot of money on this. We can do 10x on our money probably, and we can advertise it and everything like that." So they got the formulations, the chemists were there, and they come back to the US. And again, these are the five big pharmaceutical companies in the US that control the drugs. And so the chemists went in there and they took the formulations, and they made up you know the the formulations in capsules, and they did all this marketing and manufacturing and everything like that. And then they distributed it all over the world. Okay. And, they were looking at, they just invested so much money into this because they knew like these shamans, like they were laughing at the shamans because like, "Oh man, we're going to make so much money on this." And so they distributed these formulas out to the public, and guess what? Nothing happened. Total zero. Like nothing changed in terms of people's healing, and it was like a real disaster. I mean, they just lost millions and millions of dollars. So the shamans down in South America, secretly and privately were laughing their heads off. And one of the kind of the wisdoms of this story is that um, first of all, the plants work based on the person's consciousness behind the plants. Okay, so when I talk about consciousness, one of the things that we're talking about is the love and the connection to nature. And the shamans, of course, had an amazing generations of such connection to the plants. They loved the plants, and the plants loved them back, and they treated them as living beings. The pharmaceutical companies, on the other hand, had no connection to the plants whatsoever, except from a monetary financial level. And what the shamans realized, and when these CEOs contacted them, is they said there's absolutely no way that these pharmaceutical companies are ever going to be able to use these plants in the same way because they have zero connection. So the moral of the story is that if you really want to access the deep healing of the medicine of any herbs, flower essences, homeopathics, essential oils, whatever you're using, it will help if you, number one, have a connection, a personal connection to nature and the plants. There's a cultivation that needs to happen. Second of all, to realize that all of these things are live. They're alive, they're living beings, they're living organisms, and that there's a reciprocity of giving and receiving. And, when you apply an essential oil to your body or to your bath, that the more sacred, the more ceremony you can bring to it, the better those things are going to work because they're being acknowledged. And I know this might get a little bit outside the scientific model that we talk about, but I have experienced hundreds, probably thousands of transformational healings using these plants. And when there is a cultivation of the relationship that you have that goes way beyond the material world, we're talking about the quantum world, then they're going to work much better. And it's less about the certain company or the certain dosage I mean, those things have a little bit to play in it. But it's why, when you go with these multi-level marketing, big essential oil companies, I'm not going to name them, where they're doing machine pouring, it's a little different than if you find a local boutique company where they do hand pouring into the bottles that you buy or whatever you're going to do. And so cultivate that relationship. It's very, very important. It's important today, just, what's happening with our world, that we need to connect with nature. We need to connect with nature and understand that we're in a relationship. So that's the myth for this morning. Now we're going to move to a little more informational stuff. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to start in. So in this particular slide presentation, I will get you a copy of this. It'll be in a PDF form. And again, I had great joy in creating this for you. And this is brand new. This is not something that is in my archives, but I actually created it over the last couple of weeks once I decided to offer this class to you. So this is a Boswellia tree, and essential oils come from many different plant parts. And for frankincense, because that's the topic today, this is the tree that creates the frankincense resin, and we'll get into that in a minute. So in this particular lecture, again, you're welcome to take notes, but I will get you a copy of this along with the recording. All right, I want to start off and I want to talk about something called alchemy. And alchemy, to me, is a super important part of any healing process. And I consider myself an alchemist. I didn't realize that until, maybe 20 years ago. But it's probably why I studied chemistry in high school and college, and I was really good at chemistry. But when we talk about alchemy, we're talking about understanding that there are many different energetic aspects to healing. And when we bring together our mind, our body, and our spirit, we can transmute. And the thing that all plant medicines do to some degree is they restore harmony and they remind us of our wholeness. They remind us. So it's not something that, oh, we're not whole. Yeah, we're already whole. We just forget that we are. So alchemy is very much part of this. And here is a diva who is, again, we're calling in the plant spirits, the animal spirits, the ancestors, um, all of the helpers because they love plant medicine. And when we start talking about alchemy, a lot of amazing things can happen. Um, and it's very different than the regular scientific model, like those pharmaceutical CEOs that said, if I've got condition X, I use drug Y and it gets rid of Z symptom. Well, it doesn't really deal with the root cause, but when we bring in alchemy, not only do we restore our health, but we rise to a vibrational level that's maybe even higher than where we started. So if you do some research on frankincense, on the ancient origins, I'm sure everybody in the class knows that frankincense, um, you know, it it's a very ancient healing, and it's a resin that comes from the Boswellia tree that I showed you. It's native to the Horn of Africa, so Somalia is one of the places. Another place is the Arabian Peninsula and also parts of India. Okay, those are kind of the three main places. There are other places as well, but those are the three main places where they're cultivating Boswellia trees to harvest frankincense. And the way they do that is by they make cuts in the bark and these resin tears, and I have a picture of one I'll show you, beautiful gold brown. Frankincense has a really amazing gold color, and it is one of the most prized substances, not only of the ancient world, but today. So the Egyptians used frankincense in all kinds of rituals, cosmetics in temples, Mesopotamia and Assyria. So these spiritual ceremonies are so old, and it's why when you start working with frankincense, you're bringing a whole lineage of ancient history with you. Even in the Ayurveda in India, it's used, frankincense has been used to help reduce things like arthritis. And it's also great for, clearing the environment as well. China has used it, obviously. So it's really has its roots internationally. And of course, in biblical times, if you read the Bible, mentioned in the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, and it's one of the three gifts that the infant Jesus gave: gold, myrrh, and frankincense. And what's really interesting about frankincense and myrrh, I'm using myrrh right now, actually. That's another resin um, for my dental health. And I'm actually brushing my teeth every night with myrrh. I take a Q-tip and scrape some of it out of my myrrh bottle and I put it on my toothpaste. Myrrh is really great for dental health, by the way. And the other thing that I can say here, which I would not say on social media or publicly, but probably the two highest anti-cancer agents are frankincense and myrrh. And if you have a history of cancer in your body, in your lineage, in your genetic lineage, I would certainly be using frankincense and or myrrh. The third one is called galbanum. Galbanum is another high anti-cancer essential oil from Iran. But for today's purposes, frankincense is the number one anti-cancer agent. And I've those women out there that have to go for their mammograms, my suggestion is massage some frankincense on your breasts before you go in and after. This is great for deflecting radiation as well. If you don't want to use it directly on your skin, again, I'm going to go into the formulas on how to dilute it in a carrier oil so you feel safer about it. But we'll go into that in a little bit. Okay, so a little more history in Christianity. It's used in burning ceremonies. I would say all the churches. I had a friend who was Greek Orthodox, and I went to one of his um, services once, and they used frankincense incense. So it's used in Islam, the Sufis. I have a lot of friends that are in the Sufi traditions. They'll use frankincense or the resin of frankincense for purification and spiritual awakening. So frankincense, as I said, the color is gold, and one of the things that I had to do in my test to pass to become an aromatherapist is we'd have to identify what the essential oil was based on the color. And frankincense, which I'll show you a picture in a few slides, that it actually looks like gold, and it's it's got that really deep um, wealth to it, abundance, flourishing, prosperity. Obviously, the Roman Empire also used um, essential oils as well and frankincense. All right, so today frankincense is highly valued, um, and many of the people that responded to some of my social media posts shared some really amazing things around how it shifted their health. Just on a kind of a nervous system level, it's great for calming, grounding. We're going to do a meditation today using frankincense if you have it with you. So you can definitely use it for meditation as well. Um, Also, from a medicinal point of view, as I said, it helps with anti-cancer, immune modulating effects. So it's great if you have autoimmune disease and inflammatory situations. It's also been used for skincare, wound healing, anti-aging properties, and spiritual practices, as I discussed. So, um, I would say that frankincense, even though it's an enduring treasure, natural treasure, it is at risk today because the commercial aromatherapy companies are really over harvesting it. And it's one of my concerns, even teaching it, because as it gets into the mainstream and they use a little bit in perfumes and soaps and shampoos, there is a risk that it could be endangered. So it's one of the things that that I kind of keep an eye on. So the growing process. So as I said, Boswellia trees, let's see if I have a pic. No, I don't. I'll give you a picture again. Boswellia trees are small, but they're very hardy, and they thrive in desert, arid, rocky soils. And there are different kinds of frankincense that we're going to go into today. Some of the companies I'm going to recommend have several different kinds of frankincense, and this particular slide shows you where they're grown because they're not all grown in the same area. And I'm gonna, in a few minutes, I'll go into um, the different types of frankincense and when you would want to use them. All right, there's the Boswellia tree again, and again they will take the resin out of the bark of the tree, and I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. So in harvesting the frankincense resin, they shave the bark and they make small cuts and then they bleed it. So it comes out as a milky resin, looks like a tear. And after about 2 to 3 weeks, they let the tears dry. They're scraped off. They repeat the cycles 2 to 3 times a year. And it's interesting how the yields change. The first yield, lower quality, but then the later yields, that's the one they use for therapeutic oils. And then the last sentence there, over harvesting risk. If you do excessive tapping, it can kill the trees. So, one of the things that I look at in terms of companies is where where are they getting the frankincense from? Are they using biodynamic farming and things like that? Because with climate change, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is the essential oils have expanded and changed some of the therapeutic things that they offer. And part of that is because the growing scenes are different, there's more drought, the weather patterns are changing. And so the farmers have had to adjust to that particular phenomenon that's happening with climate change. So when you choose a frankincense, try to go for organic if you can, because we don't want, glyphosate and other nasty um, insecticides or pesticides, and even the soil has really changed. I would look for wild harvested with sustainability. Um, some organic claims are vague, so the better companies work directly with harvesters, and the key is they're protecting tree populations. I also suggest biodynamic farming practices, um, but it indicates that it's a closed loop. The farming and the soil regeneration and the ecosystem, they're all working together. Also, I only go for fair trade, traceability. I want to choose suppliers who give full disclosure, region, species, harvesting methods. And again, the companies that I'm going to suggest have met this criteria. And the last thing, and this is really important, the transparency in lab testing. Um, and there's one company I love, which I'll talk about, that actually they put their testing right on the bottle and when it expires. So when they tested it, when it expires, it's because if you don't do testing and you don't reveal that, what I have found is certain companies, especially in the area of the hydrosols, that's the mist, there can be mold in that. And so you need to be really careful about, again, do they reveal their lab testing? And we want to make sure there are no adulterants. And again, there was a company that I worked with that I was tipped off and I sent it to a third party lab, and they said there was a lot of adulteration in this one essential oil. So, it happens, but you just need to be really careful. So, the process of creating an essential oil is a really interesting thing. And I actually have steam distilled my own essential oils. So, I know the process. I have a glass made steam distillation a distiller. And the essential oils in New Mexico that I can work with are lavender and sage. And I've never used resin, so I haven't done that frankincense. But what I can say is that you need a lot of plant parts to make the essential oil. And there are two parts to the process. When you start heating the plant, the way the steam distillation works is you're heating the plant. Okay, probably the way I did it is I would heat water and it would create this temperature rise in the plant, and then you would start to see the steam come through the distiller, and part of the steam, the vapor particles, would carry that to one opening, which would be the essential oil part of it. And then the other part would be what we call hydrosol, where the water vapor and the essential oil are together. And that's a wonderful mist. And so if you're wanting to save money, you can do the hydrosol for a fraction of the price of what the essential oil is. That's why essential oils are so expensive because you have to use so much plant to get a tiny amount of essential oil. So in this distilling process, there are different colors of the tiers based on the country. And again, you're looking for quality grades. Again, the company that if you start working with certain companies, they will tell you about the quality grades. Now, the last sentence, some modern producers are also extracting frankincense using CO2. And this is not as volatile as the steam distillation, and they can make a very rich medicinal essential oil extract. So I think, again, when you start looking at the frankincense, how is it distilled? How is it processed? Are they using a CO2 extraction process, or are they just doing steam distillation or hydrodistillation? And again, that should be revealed by the company. And again, a lot of people that I've recommended frankincense to, they'll start going to these companies and they have no idea, what's the difference between CO2 extract and distillation, and what should I use, and so on. So this is what's out there for you. All right. I want you to take a moment and I want you just to connect to this tier. Okay. We're gonna go into about a 30-second silence, and I want you just to see and feel and take it in. Okay, there it is. So you've got it. All right. Some conscious consumer tips. You want to look for companies that actually name the species. Okay, not just say, oh, it's frankincense, but they have underneath it, is it Boswellia sacra? Is it Boswellia carterii? What is it? That tells you that they have a high interest in the frankincense. They're really cultivating a high quality. Um, I prefer small batch supporting harvests. Again, when you start working with these big multi-level marketing companies, they often don't do small batches. Everything is just kind of run very corporate. And so that corporate energy is getting into the essential oil. And I would say I wouldn't do that. Ensure that there's a resting time for the trees. So you need to find sustainable, farmers, because we don't want to make this an endangered species, and we're kind of heading that way. Um, if you want maximum medicinal resin content, then instead of doing steam distillation, I would do CO2 extract, steam distillation. Um, what I think is kind of cool that you could do is buy one of each and see which one lands on your body better. A lot of it just depends on, how it feels on you, what you notice about it. So, to summarize the first part of this, frankincense grows in dry, arid areas. Again, mostly in Arabia, Africa, and India. And that resin is harvested through careful tapping and distilling into the essential oil. Um, Prioritize organic, wild harvested, fair trade, and you want to protect the trees. Support local harvesters that offer full transparency. And these are very important points. Um, this isn't a transactional selling thing. It's really about doing this as consciously as you can. All right, so this next part is very interesting because if you haven't already, and you go to a certain company that I recommend, there are different kinds of frankincense. And one of the main ones is called sacra. And I can't recommend one over the other. I like them all. Um, this one is more citrusy, and it's more like a pine type of color, like a green, and it's very grounding. It obviously has pretty strong anti-inflammatory properties and immune support, and it's the one that's been used in the temples. Um, some of the frankincense I have is I get it in a resin that I can put it in, like I burn it. So I don't get it in a bottle where I'm applying it to my body, but it's actually, I use it as an incense. So this is going to get into the air. If you want to use it for meditation, it works great. Respiratory health, I'll talk a little bit more about that. And skin healing, great for skin health. So this one is really good if you're doing it for meditation, I would say. It's more ceremonial, is what how I would say it. Okay, the one that I have with me today is carterii, and this was grown in Somalia. And this is very comforting. It's my main one that I use to put on my body, but it can be interchangeable with sacra. Again, it's been great for the skin. I have recommended it for people in lieu of some of the dermatological things that go on with our skin and what dermatologists might want to use. This Qatari is really great for skin regeneration. Um, so, it's very helpful. It's also a great emotional balancer. So, if you put a drop or two on your hand, you can cup your hands over your nose and breathe it in. We call that an inhalation process. That can actually kind of quiet down your limbic brain, your emotional brain, especially in fear. It's versatile. It's my all-purpose frankincense oil is the one I keep in here in the dome when people come in and they need a little, stress relief. It's wonderful. You can take a drop or two and massage it on the back of your neck. Um, and you can also take a drop or two and massage it on the scalp. So it's just an all-purpose one, and it's really good. This one is less known. It's a little sharper. It smells a little bit like pepper. Um, so it's one that I use more for dental health, I would say. It's also great for muscular skeletal support. So, like if you have sore muscles, you can massage it in there. Um, I keep it in my bathroom and I use it for, if I don't have myrrh, or I'll do myrrh and I'll use uh, this frankincense, and it's really great for oral care. You can massage it into the teeth and the gums. So, if you're wanting to kind of create an upgrade in your dental health, this is a good one to do. And then this one is kind of sweeter. Yeah, when sometimes honey like, I wouldn't say it's as sweet as honey, but it's fruity and it's very uplifting. It's great for anxiety release and trauma release. So in my craniosacral sessions, we'll use this one because it helps in trauma release. It's kind of a friend or an ally that can help support more emotional equanimity. It's very calming and heart opening. This is another one that you could meditate on. So you can see there's definitely different flavors of frankincense that you can use. So I created this chart for you with all of them, of the species, and the best use for them and why choose it. So again, you'll get this in your handouts, and hopefully it'll answer one of the most common questions I get when I recommend a company. Okay, well, you've recommended frankincense, which one and why? And it's kind of hard to kind of go into it all, which is one of the reasons why I did this course, so that you would be much better informed into what's out there and what's the best thing for you. All right, some tips for choosing consciously. I would not buy just a generic frankincense. I would look to see on the label or on the website whether they've actually done some lab tests. And because we want to make sure that these essential oils aren't adulterated. One of the things that's happening in the aromatherapy industry is that they use a trace amount of, say lavender or frankincense or, red pine, but it's not pure, it's not concentrated. And this is where adulteration can start to come in, especially if it's highly processed. Again, support sustainable harvesting and farming and consider your own purpose. Why would you want to relate to frankincense? What's the support? Is it spiritual? Is it skin? Is it inflammation? Is it emotional support? So again, in the chart that I gave you, you can kind of plug into that. All right, again, to summarize, this gives you the different kinds of frankincense on what you might use it for. All right. So, as an aromatherapist, when I started teaching aromatherapy, I actually taught it in what we call neat. So, meaning that I would put it directly on your skin. And many aromatherapists really push back against me. I got a lot of resistance from that. And understandably so, because essential oils are highly concentrated, they're very volatile, and um, they can really burn the skin if you don't know what you're doing. So I studied the carrier oil world, and I feel that carrier oils are an important part of this that I need to cover. If you're going to use the essential oil directly on the skin, my suggestion would be to do a test patch, meaning that take a drop and put it on the inside part of your wrist. Okay, the inside part of your wrist, and watch the body's response. If you get a rash, if you get burning, if you get redness, then probably either you need to use a carrier oil in it or you can put it on the soles of your feet. Um, so everybody's got a different biochemistry. They've got different um, skin health components, and not everybody's got my skin. I've got really good skin, and the skin is the major detoxification organ of the body. When we start detoxing, a lot of times it will go from the liver to the skin. So when I was working with these kids, when we were doing the heavy metal detox, most of them had rashes that were part of the release from the essential oils pushing the toxins out of the body. So, if you want to use a carrier oil, one of my favorites is jojoba oil. I like jojoba because it's very skin friendly. You can use it on your face. It's pretty non-greasy. In some of my courses, I've talked about castor oil and how we can put castor oil on and around our eyes. And you certainly can use castor oil, but it's very greasy and very thick. And a lot of people have reactions to castor oil, actually. With a jojoba oil, it's non-greasy, it's very easily absorbed. And I think, in 20 years, I maybe have had one mild skin irritation. I don't even think it was from the jojoba. It's also very stable because it's kind of like a liquid wax. It's not a true oil, so it doesn't go rancid. You can keep it for a really long time. And this will help preserve the potency of the frankincense if you're going to mix the two together. Again, in these companies that I'm going to recommend, you can get yourself a nice big bottle of jojoba oil that will last you for quite a while. Um, Now, when you use jojoba oil, like diluting frankincense and jojoba, one of the things that happens is that when I apply frankincense directly to my body, let's say I do 4 drops, probably 2 of those 4 drops are going to evaporate pretty quickly. And so the jojoba oil helps in the absorption, and it can, keep that frankincense around longer. Another thing the jojoba oil does is that it's a very balanced moisturizer. And I don't know, where everybody lives, but here in the desert Southwest, it's really dry. And one of the challenges is how do we keep our skin moist? So if you've got dry skin, if your skin is inflamed, or you've got lots of wrinkles, by the way, frankincense works really well with wrinkles. Combining the frankincense with jojoba is really great, and you can even use it around your eyes and face. So you don't apply any essential oil to the eyes, but if you add jojoba and frankincense blend, you can put it around the eye area, the temples, the cheeks. So we talk about in my more advanced classes and even my private sessions, the eye protocol. And with the eye protocol, you're using 3 essential oils. You're using fennel, carrot seed, and frankincense. And you layer them one on top of the other. The fennel is first, and you put it at the hairline above the eyes, and then outside the temples, like on either side of the eyes, and the cheeks. And then you put carrot seed on top of that, and then you put frankincense on top of that. Some people will find that, well, first of all, it's really powerful because you're going to get a lot of great peripheral vision and circulation into the eyes, which is what we need, especially for night vision, preventing macular degeneration, cataracts, and all that kind of stuff. But if you use the jojoba frankincense blend, you're probably not going to get any reactions at all. It's going to feel really good. And so, if you want to do that eye protocol, you can do that with either just frankincense or you can use the my eye protocol, fennel, carrot seed, and frankincense. But using the jojoba will protect you from getting any, skin irritation. And by the way, if you ever get any burning while you use an essential oil, just put some coconut oil on it and it'll take the burning away in like 10 seconds. All right, so the question I get is how do we mix jojoba and frankincense? What's the general dilution? Um, I would say 1 drop of frankincense per 1 teaspoon of jojoba. And you might go to your health food store or if you have an herbal shop, get a brown bottle with a cap on it, and you can create your frankincense slash jojoba dilution mix. The 1% is 1 drop. 2% would be 2 drops per teaspoon. 3%, which is a stronger blend per teaspoon. Again, use a small bottle, 10 milliliter, 10 milliliter. Yeah, they have bottles out now with rollers on them, or you can, again, get a dropper on it. Um, and so another way to do it is if you get a 10 ml bottle, add 3 to 6 drops of frankincense, and then just fill the rest of the bottle with jojoba. And that's more in like a 10 ml roller, which you can get like a deodorant kind of thing, but you can use it on your face. And it's using essential oil rollers are actually really, really great. Um, so that's kind of the carrier oil mix. This will be in your handouts. My advice would be to start at 1%. So that's 1 drop per 5 ml of jojoba. And if you do that, it's going to feel really good. It's great for sensitive skin. If you want to really, a stronger blend, then you can do 3%, 3 drops per 1 teaspoon. Really simple chemistry. And, I've been doing this for years. This works out great. It's protecting you, but it'll give you the therapeutic benefits of what you want with frankincense. So, certain applications, facial application, 2 to 3 drops gently into the skin. after cleaning your skin. Um, so around the wrinkles area, again, keep it away from your eyes, cheeks, temples. Apply lightly to the temples, hairline, and the cheeks, as I talk about. Meditation and grounding, so you can apply to your wrists, behind your ears. One of the techniques I'll use sometimes if a person is stressed out is I'll take a drop or two of the frankincense and I'll actually massage the earlobes. So the earlobes actually are a real stimulating area for acupuncture meridians. In fact, Japanese acupuncture actually puts the needles into the ears and the earlobes, but you can actually massage it in there. It's very relaxing. Great to do before meditation, breath work. Great for scar tissue. So if you have scar tissue on your skin, um, work with that, dry patches. Again, you'll see the magic of frankincense as it relates to skin health and skin regeneration. Now, I put this in here, never apply frankincense or any essential oil undiluted to the skin. And I would probably put a disclaimer there, test on a small skin patch if you're going to do that. Um, and you can look at essential oils and see if they're more on the hot side or on the cool side. Let me give you an example. So, a hot essential oil would be like oregano or thyme. You would never put that directly on your skin because it's going to burn. There are advanced techniques we teach in aromatherapy where you can actually apply, say, oregano to the skin, but you have to do it in a way where you're layering cool essential oils both before and after, and then you're putting the hot oil kind of in the middle of a bigger patch of cooler essential oil that you might use. So a hot essential oil, oregano. Cool essential oil would be like peppermint. One of the techniques I love doing when I'm hiking in the summer, I take my bandana, I wet it, I put a drop or two of peppermint oil on that bandana, wrap it around my neck. So it's a cool handkerchief and it's got that cool peppermint oil on it. Vetiver, which is more of another kind of a resin, comes from Haiti. It's a grass. That's a cooling essential oil. And you can always use a cool essential oil on top of something that's burning. So let's say you used a warm essential oil like carrot seed, and it was like, whoa, this is getting warm. You could use something like vetiver, or again, you could use a carrier oil, coconut oil, or jojoba oil, and that will take the burning away. Obviously, avoid, putting essential oils on your hands and rubbing your eyes or your genital areas, because it's going to burn. And so be careful with your applications. So in summary, I would say jojoba oil is my number one. It's really good because it's so compatible to the skin. Um, it enhances absorption of the frankincense and it reduces the evaporation that happens when you put the frankincense right on the skin. And I'm not dissuading you from putting frankincense directly on the skin. Just do a test patch first. Okay. And if you do that, then you're an expert at using this powerful medicine in the best possible way. Okay, so when you choose a frankincense, you want to make sure the botanical name is clearly listed. So you're going to see, for example, okay, I have a bottle here of frankincense, and below that it's Boswellia carterii. Okay, so I know that that botanical name is listed, and also where is it being farmed and distilled? This is from Somalia, and so that gives me the information. Avoid vague labels like just frankincense oil and make sure there's testing on there. And some companies will actually do gas chromatography, spectrometry reports. Sometimes that's listed on their website. I do think the testing is important. after going through different companies and having problems with adulteration, now I will only use an essential oil if I see that there's testing and when it expires, because essential oils do expire. And when you go to the website, make sure that before you order, what's the transparency? Again, I vetted companies for you, but I still want you to know this. Where's it from? And by the way, whatever company, when the origin, the state of origin, sometimes they'll harvest in one country and they will process it in another country. There's one essential oil that I've used where I think it would might have been a type of lavender, and they grew it, I think, in the Middle East, and then they shipped it to France, and that's where they processed it. Um, Again, the origin, the country of origin. So essential oils, they absorb the culture around us, the farmer's energy, the surrounding country energy, all of that is going to be in there. And so, when you apply the essential oil, you're like, let's say it's from India, there's an energy of India that's coming into your body from the essential oil. And so that's something to think about. Obviously, sustainability, we've talked about limiting the tapping and allowing trees to rest and wild harvesting. In packaging, you want to get it in a dark amber bottle or a cobalt glass bottle. Never use plastic. They should have lot numbers and expiration dates on there. Um, don't leave your essential oil in heat, high heat, or sun. Keep it in a cool place. You don't have to keep it refrigerated, but just avoid keeping it in the sun for a long time. Okay, and these are just some other things that we find. Probably the biggest is you want 100% pure organic. You don't want it diluted with other oils. Um, yeah, again, this is pretty much what we've said. Sometimes we'll do, I'll show you in a minute, different ways the essential oils are packaged. So we'll do that. Okay, this is my favorite frankincense protocol. So basically, I'm using 1 drop of frankincense and 2 to 3 drops of jojoba carrier oil. I gently massage it into the temples, the cheekbones, the hairline. Um, 1 diluted drop per application. I do that 1 to 2 times a day, and I aim for 3 to 4 weeks. If you do that, you will definitely get some alchemical transformations. If you've got stress, great place to put it is in the palms, rubbing them together, cup your hands, doing an inhalation. You can also apply it to the back of the neck, the heart center. For children, the bottoms of the feet are really good, elders. Again, in an inhalation, 1 or 2 drops will do it. Morning and evening, keep it by your bed, your night table. 3 to 5 slow breaths, topical application lasts several hours. So it's really, really good. This is just another wellness protocol. Again, you can do it in on your chest, your lower abdomen, soles of the feet, major lymph area of the. I have some people use them like deodorant. Put it on the sides, around the breast area, or under the armpits. So there's a lot of applications. And the more intuitive you are with it, ask the essential oil, where should I go? Where do you want me? Or ask your body. When we teach our classes, we really emphasize that the essential oils are live and that they talk to us. One of my uh, nicknames I use for them is they're shamans in a bottle. So they are here as allies to help us. All right, I'm gonna stop for a minute, and I want to do a little show and tell. I know this is a lot of information. I hope that so far you guys are getting some good stuff. So here's my jojoba oil here, and I got a big bottle of it. Um, and here's my frankincense carterii, which is my all-purpose one. Um, and with these companies, what you can do is you can get a little bit of a sample. And sometimes they charge, sometimes they don't. But if you want to try the different kinds of frankincense and you're not sure which one you like, you can do a sample and get 4 or 5 of these and experiment. And then this is um, the hydrosol. I don't know if you can see the mist here. So you can get frankincense in a mist, and that's another way that you can use it. So there's lots of different angles to it. And what I love about it is just the versatility of the essential oils. And today we're spotlighting frankincense. So it's really, really, really good. All right, we're going to move to let's see here. We're going to do a little meditation now, and I'm going to guide you in this. All right. Now, when we're together, we are in a field. And if you don't have frankincense with you, that's okay because I have mine. Maybe some other people have theirs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you right now, if you do have a bottle, to unscrew it. And before you put it on your body, one of the ways to introduce yourself to any essential oil is through the nose. And so I want you to take a minute and I want you to put it up close to your nose and I want you just to breathe it in. Okay, I just want you to connect to the aroma of it. And the questions you ask yourself is, how is this making me feel? What is this? What's the response in my body? Okay. Now, another thing that you can do at this point, because probably you didn't prepare a carrier oil, is take a drop, just pour a drop maybe on to holding your right hand and a small drop into the palm of your left hand, and take your index finger and put it on your left um, inside part of your wrist. We're going to do a test patch. Okay. So just put it there, use a little bit. It's probably a little sticky because frankincense, being a resin, is kind of sticky. And just see if there's any negative response to this is called a test patch. Now, if you pass that test, then the next thing is, you're not getting any negative effects. I'm going to ask you to take a drop and I want you to put it 2 places in between your 2 eyes, above your eyes. We call it the third eye or the sixth chakra. And um, I want you to put it underneath your 2 nostrils, just a little bit, so that there's a little bit of you're smelling the oil. It's going in through the nose and your third eye. Okay. Now, if you want a little more, you can take that drop again and you can put it on your left palm and you can rub your hands together a little bit and cover your mouth and your nose and take 3 breaths. So we're doing an inhalation. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and I'm going to guide you through this. So take a couple of deep breaths. Pay attention to your inhale and your exhale. You breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to start at the bottom of your feet and just be aware of your toes and your feet, how the bottom of the feet are placed on the ground. And then travel your awareness up to the front of your legs, your shins, your calves, your knees, front of the knees, the back of the knees, and then the front of your legs, the thighs, front of the thighs, the back of the thighs where your hamstrings are. Keep your breathing going. And then come up to your hips, your hip areas, right and left hips, your sit bones, your pelvis. Feel your sit bones in your chair. And then your low back, your sacrum, and your spine. Feel your awareness come up your spine, all the way to your cervical spine, and then your shoulders, your shoulder joints, and then your arms, shoulders to your elbows, to your forearms, to your wrists, and your hands and fingers. You're going to return to the back of the neck, back of the head, up around to your crown, crown of your head, the top of your head, then the front, your forehead, your eye sockets and your eyes, your ears, and then your face, your cheekbones, your jaw, your teeth, your mouth, your tongue. And then down the sides of your neck where your vagus nerve is. And then down the front of your body, your sternum, your respiratory lungs, heart, liver and gallbladder, and your digestive health, your digestive tract. And I want you to end at your belly button. So you're going to be aware of your, we call that your enteric brain. So as you're in this deep relaxation, I want you to pick a flower. Visualize a flower. What's your favorite flower? And I want you to visualize that flower, the color, the shape, the size. This is your inner flower. Your inner flower. And I want you to ask this flower what it needs. what it needs, how's it doing, what it needs from you. Does it need water? Does it need attention? Is it getting enough love? Notice how that feels in your body to connect to your inner flower. Just take a moment and nurture that flower. Give it some light, give it some food, give it some energy. Notice how that feels. And now that you're connecting to your inner flower, tell the inner flower that you will remember it and check in with it on a regular basis to make sure that it's getting what its needs are. So in terms of coming back, you want to come back to our class. You can open your eyes, you can wiggle your fingers and toes, open your eyes, and just take about 20 or 30 seconds and just do a little stretching. Okay, so the inner flower visualization is really, it's a good one for sure. And I hope you got something out of that. So in our closing, I'm going to give you a challenge, a 7-day challenge to use frankincense every day. And these essential oils are like liquid light. And when you breathe in the essential oil, invite clarity, calmness, and vision. Okay, the moment you've been waiting for. What are trusted brands that I have researched that I feel are good? Well, number one is Floricopia. That's a good brand. Eden Botanicals is also excellent. Mountain Rose Herbs, also excellent. And the essential oils I used today were from a company called Lotus Garden Botanicals. And they have a very large inventory that you can choose from, but they're wild crafted and therapeutic grade. And their frankincense is really good. They have all the different ones that we talked about today. But you can't go wrong with either of these four companies. And if you had to pin me down, I would probably say Lotus Garden would be number one, Mountain Rose would be two, and Eden and Floricopia would be 3A and 3B. Again, I tend to stay away from more of the multi-level marketing. And I don't have any financial interest in either any of these companies. Um, and I think the bottom line is in choosing an essential oil, try it and see how it feels in your body. Because it's very personal. And, you know, I might suggest a certain company, but you might already have a company that you really like. And so a lot of it is personally dependent on how it lands on you, how it feels to you. So my final words are check the species, the testing, the sustainable sourcing. For jojoba, use an organic cold pressed, golden unrefined. Always buy from companies that provide transparency and traceability. If you follow those guidelines, you'll have a wonderful time, not only with frankincense, but any essential oil you choose. Okay, so got a few minutes left. If you've got any questions, you can drop them in the chat. If you don't have any questions, that's okay too. Um, if you want some sources, I would say that this book, I Sense, that I wrote, has 2 chapters on aromatherapy, and this also has some information on aromatherapy. You can get that off my website. Um, so feel free to email me if you've got any questions, if you get any weird reactions. Again, less is better than more. And just listen to your body and listen to your intuition. I think that's the key. What I've given you is kind of an overall, okay, these are what these are good for. This is how to choose. This is how to use and apply. This is what to stay away from. Now I think it's kind of up to you to, you know, decide how you want to go. So we'll keep the conversation going. Good, there's a question here. If we do the eye protocol 2 to 4 weeks, do we do it a few times a year? You can. I think it kind of depends on what you get from it. I would say in doing thousands of eye protocols with people, what they'll come back to say, 95% of them, my night vision is better, my focus is better, I can read longer, because these essential oils are very oxygenating and hydrating. And so it can be very beneficial. Yeah, exactly. You've been doing it and you will see improvement. And again, whether you use the carrier oil or not, um, it's perfectly fine. I would probably do 1% dilution with carrot and fennel and 3% with frankincense. Yeah, that'd be a real sensible formula to use for sure. Again, there can be some sensitivity around here, and if there is, just immediately use some coconut oil and you'll be fine. Um, and even if you got it in your eyes, you could use a little, castor oil or something, and that would take it away. But just be conscious of keeping it you don't need to be right into the eye area. It can be kind of around it, whatever you're doing. Um, but, you know, these oils are so strong and they're so complex. It's kind of the difference between antibiotics and essential oils is that in antibiotics, once the strain morphs into something else, the antibiotic doesn't work. But with essential oils, the strain can morph because of the complexity of this essential oil. We're not killing, we're just maintaining a harmony and balance. I don't like the military conversation, killing and we're fighting and we're against. I think it's very much when we use plants, we're creating more harmony and balance. Is castor oil good on a daily basis around the eyes? Yes, I mean it's very moisturizing, but some people find it to be too thick and it can clog up the tears, the eyelids. So you just need a tiny bit, and you do it on the outside part of the eye. But like I did castor oil in my eyes last night, right before bed, and I woke up this morning and there was a real great moisturization that I was feeling. So I mean, it's just one of those supports that listen to your body, use it when you need it. Again, I want to emphasize the more um, intuitive you are with it. Ask yourself, ask your body, ask the oil. Um, that's the best way to work with it because you're in real time about, okay, this is what I need. Any other questions? Well, I don't know about you, but I feel a lot of joy. I love sharing this information. It's one of my passions. I hope it's yours. Enjoy the weekend wherever you are and get out in nature. Um, and thank you very much for coming. And again, I'll send everything soon. Yeah, the protocol is very good. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Many blessings. Take good care.